Okay, maybe we can get started, and as people file in, we can just admit them as we go. Thank you everybody for joining us today. Very excited to have our GIZ colleagues here to participate in this Pak-CRN webinar. I think with that, we can get started. We have a lot of people joining right now. Maybe with that, yeah, we can get started. Just a quick overview of what the Pak-CRN is, what our goals are, the various avenues that we have for others to access to participate in this network, etc. Um, yeah, so the Pak-CRN is the capacity building component of this broader project that UNU alongside GIZ, GCISE, are doing in Pakistan. It started last July and it'll continue it started in July 2024 and will continue on into the fall. Yeah, as I said, capacity building components. We also have a training of trainers uh, uh, aspect of the capacity building, but that is a bit separate from this particular Pak-CRN initiative. Although you will see quite a bit of updates if you are at all linked in to our news information that we are periodically sending out. Main objective is to bring together practitioners, researchers, stakeholders, etc., working on climate resilience in Pakistan. So this is to foster collaboration, knowledge exchange, etc. Some of the key focus areas are facilitating these lasting connections, like I mentioned briefly, sharing knowledge and innovation, and highlighting progress in climate resilience, specifically in Pakistan, but also sometimes other areas that might be relevant to the Pakistan context. Um, we do this in a variety of ways, so networking and collaboration, knowledge sharing and learning, resource access. So networking and collaboration, what I mean by that specifically is if you haven't, and I would highly recommend you do so, I'll share the link in order for you to do so. But we have a LinkedIn page where a lot of information, including advertisements for these webinars, sharing of participation activities with like this TOT training that I mentioned briefly, stuff like that. So the networking opportunities for you to participate in various programs or initiatives that we are organizing or co-organizing. If you haven't done so, if you haven't seen it, I'll share the link for the LinkedIn page, but I would highly recommend everybody that wants to join that because that's kind of our main hub for disseminating information for all things related to the Pak-CRN and the TOT. So, knowledge sharing, again, another important aspect of this Pak-CRN is that we want all this information freely and easily available. So even if you're not able to attend today's webinar, for example, we like to host these online so you can either watch after the fact or download the webinar itself, the video, the audio, whatever materials that were presented or shared. This is important for us because we know that not everyone is able to attend in person or live. This is something that's made available. Again, you can find this information on the LinkedIn page, and I'll also share the links to where you can download this material afterwards as well. Resource access, professional development. Again, this is kind of a combination of the two. Professional development, this is something that, attending these webinars, while it might be more of an introductory course, let's say, to various topics, it does open the door to broader possibilities. Same thing with the resource access, sharing these materials from these experts in their particular fields. This is not something that you would normally have access to without having participated in these particular events or webinars or trainings that we host. So all something that we try to do. Very open to suggestions or potential avenues for collaboration if anybody wants to reach out and contact us. That's how a lot of these different events have taken place already. Yeah, and then maybe this last slide here, just reiterating what we already said. So webinar series, you are aware of this. This is what we're doing right now. Newsletter, this is maybe a bit of a deeper dive into particular aspects or programs that we are doing or participating in, involved in with this Pak-CRN, such as this TOT. I think that was the subject of the last newsletter. So if you're at all interested, feel free to follow along in the LinkedIn, and you can find this information and be able to see our progress or see what activities are being done. And yes, I think with that, that's everything that I wanted to share. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me or reach out. I can share my email as well. Otherwise, I will hand over the controls to our colleagues from GIZ. We'll have roughly an hour or so presentation, and then afterwards we'll open the floor up for any Q&A. You are more than welcome to ask questions in the chat as well, but yeah, I would ask if you could hold the questions until the end, or to speak until the end, and then there'll be plenty of time for people to talk with the various hosts. So maybe with that, I can stop sharing my screen and hand over to Mr. Harris. And thank you.
Yes, so thank you very much. I'm Haris Mushtaq. I'm working as a climate change advisor at GIZ Pakistan. Let me just share my screen.
Yeah. Go for full screen. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Corner, for introducing Pak-CRN also, and thanks to inviting us for this forum to share our experience in the risk-informed development in which we are working since last 2.5 years in Pakistan, along with some other member countries. So me with my colleague, Mr. Harris and Osama, will share some of presentation slides first. And then is like also you mentioned by Mr. Corner, that we will be having a question answer session. So I will start first, and then Harris and Osama will also follow me for the rest of the slides. So can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So this is the agenda for this today's session, that we would like to let you know to understand the concept of risk-informed development. Though this concept is maybe not new in Pakistan, some plenty of work has been done in Pakistan in past. So we will share some of that experience also. We will also see the relationship of this hazard, exposure, vulnerability, and capacities, which is normally elements is shaping the risk. We will also analyze the key gaps which we observed during these consultations in different districts, and also at the federal level. And some of then I will share with you some of the lessons which drawn based on this recent 2022 and 2025 floods, that how it helped to improve the planning approaches. But also then there was some gaps which were identified I would like to share with you. And then at the end, I will discuss with you some of the entry points which help for mainstreaming risk consideration into policies, plans, in projects. And at the end, then also we will familiar with, can you go to the back, please? At the end, then we will also introduce our projects enabling environment for risk-informed development. Ms. Maraike is here, who is also from the GIZ side under the Global Initiative on Disaster Risk Management. So we were working here in Pakistan as one of a member country. So this is, can you go to the next slide, please? So you can see that these are the screenshot of different newspaper and different disasters which is frequently occurring in Pakistan, naturally also, but then due to climate change implications, and you can see that it is affecting very badly to the lives and livelihoods of the pupils, and the government assets are most of the time washed away, and then we have to restart again from the scratch. So these are just some of the screenshot from those different newspapers. Next, please. Now, let me give you a little bit context that why this this risk thinking is really very important to consider for all development planning. You know, one is the Pakistan geographical conditions and geographical features also are like this, that we have number of natural and human-induced hazards throughout Pakistan. And it is here in Pakistan, we call Pakistan is a factory of disasters, which is really very common word is also that you take a name and it is available in Pakistan. But on top of that, despite that we are contributing less than 1% greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, still Pakistan is among the top 10 countries badly affected by the climate change. And you have those, my colleague from Pakistan knows that this, especially the flood phenomena and many other related to the flooding, this cloud burst, flash flooding, urban flooding, thunderstorm, hailstorm. These are all in past were definitely there, but still now these are more frequency and magnitude has been increased. And we can see that 2010 mega flood, and then 2022, which was more focused in geographically in Balochistan and Sindh. But when you come to the 2025, it was mostly Punjab was badly affected, and then some part of northern Khyber Pakhtunkhwa was affected. So you can see that the planning need throughout the country because of these climatic changes. The area is you never know that it will happen this year in which districts and which province. The result of what is the result of this? This all development work gains repeatedly reversed. We start from the scratch, rehabilitation, reconstruction, recovery process, and all the development work is washed away. I would like to give you three examples that how these development projects has been affected. For example, if you remember, those who are especially from Islamabad, that the sector E11 flood incidents. Now this is a planned city constructed, developed under the CDA, but still you can see that because of the encroachments and development work, those nalas bring a lot of destruction. I think it was 2021 flood. Similarly, this 2025, this Park View Housing Society in Lahore, situated along the Ravi River, it's a very high cost, high class residential areas. And during 2025, the majority of the people who are living there, they were badly affected. Similarly, this Pindi, in Rawalpindi, we have this Nalalai, which is Bada Darde Sar hai, is a headache for the district administration of Pindi district administration whenever there is little bit high rainfall, then the Nala Lai create a lot of problems to the residents, but also to the district administration. So what I'm trying to say that all these development gains is washed away every time with these kind of major disasters. Maybe one of a reason especially is the reactive approach, which is still dominate over the proactive planning, especially at the district level, especially at the community level, and also at the government level. This is still reactive approach is more existing. And if you see the key messages, if you note down that development that does not integrate risk concentration inevitably create new risk. And that three example which I have given to you, that these development work, which was they encroach the land which is near the river, and then it is now creating new risk for the administration. Similarly, also this development has two dimensions. These disaster risks pose risk to the development, but then also risks are arising from these development, as I give you these three examples earlier to this. Can you go to next slide, please? Yeah. Now, to understand the risk, this is really very important. In our language, we call it Urdu Khadsha. This is really very important to understand. And risk is nothing but the combination of these four elements: hazard, either natural hazards, either human-induced hazards, but flood, droughts, earthquake, all these natural hazards is existing in Pakistan. As I mentioned to you, that we call it as a factory of disaster or factory of hazards. So these are existing. Then on the other side, another element is the exposure of population, infrastructure in location. Those people, those population which is an infrastructure situated along the flood-prone area are definitely more exposed to that it will be affecting. But all area is exposed, but vulnerability, especially the vulnerable will be those who have social, economic, institutional vulnerability, who are living in the same exposed area, but they have less capacities. They have high vulnerabilities, due to which among those exposed area, the vulnerable pupils are more badly affecting. And on top of that, if you have less capacities, lack of preparedness, you have less response system, then definitely the risk will be high and high. Can you go to the next slide, please? And this is the risk equation, a simple mathematical expression which we normally use to assess risk. This is NDMA, PDMA, and all development stakeholders is normally doing to assess risk. Hazard multiply with exposure, multiply with vulnerability, divided by the capacity. So this is even while we are working in the field using very simple techniques, participatory risk assessment techniques, or while using advanced techniques like PDMA, NDMA, and urban units, they are using GIS and remote sensing techniques to find out the risk. So the idea is to identify the potential loss of life, injuries, or destroyed or damaged assets. And this equation help us to find out elements, different elements which are at risk, but then further to proper mapping and risk cataloging, you can categorize it. High class, high risk area, moderate risk area, low risk area. So definitely then it support the development practitioners to avoid, for example, the high risk area or moderate risk area. So that is the simple equation which we are using either in GIS or either in simple tools through Excel sheet or these kind of tools. It will give us very nice figures. Can you go to the next slide, please? This is the same, I mean, is an example like for hazard, we cannot do much. This is not in, this is a natural process. It is not in the control of human beings. It will happen again and again. What we can do to focus on the exposure, to reduce the exposure, to reduce the vulnerabilities, and increase the capacities. For example, settlements which are close to the river, they are exposed. They are all elements are exposed to the flooding, but definitely vulnerability will be like, for example, maintenance of no maintenance of bridge, then which is, for example, the only exit route. Then definitely those population will be more at risk. And on top of that, if they do not have proper early warning system, then with low capacities, then risk will be higher. Next, please. This is also then another just example from the heat waves. I mean, this month, coming month, there is precautions from already from the NDMA and the Met Department. So, and you probably will be remembering that Karachi heat stroke, I think in 2015, probably 2015. Yes, sorry that if I'm wrong on this, but more around 12 to 1300 people died because of that heat stroke. So that the exposure area is, if we take example of Karachi, the multi-story high-rise building, vertical expansion, then there is less space for wind to come inside, and especially then children are more vulnerable who are playing outside. The labor force is more vulnerable. And on top of that, if you do not have the capacities, then definitely a risk will be more higher. And next, please. Now we will look into the need for, I mean, I mentioned to you. So we will discuss in these slides how we can transform this development to minimize the risk creation. You know, not only in Pakistan, but in developing countries, we are stuck somehow in the disaster management cycle. Disasters happen, rehabilitation, reconstruction, recovery process continue, and then another disaster again come, and all the development work washed away, and then we have to restore. So we need to break that cycle. This is really very, very important to look at from the reactive to proactive angle. And another thing, especially for the development practitioners, that we undermine disaster in extreme events. We do not consider development and disaster together. We take them as a separate. So that is the main problem, which is normally all our development work is creating now risk to the people in case instead of that it should avoid risk. Next, please. Then on top of that, the risk drivers are there, as I mentioned to you. The climate change is the risk driver, unplanned urbanization, and then with the focus on expansion of a few major cities, Karachi, Rawalpindi, Lahore, Peshawar. So these now creating huge problem. There are many disasters, many issues because of the unplanned development and encroachment in developing slum areas along this hazard-prone areas. So, and then also gender inequality. So the result is that we are creating risk faster than we can manage them. with lot of development work, then we are not managing it, but we are creating more and more risk. And as I give you example of this, even here in DHA, I'm sitting in Islamabad, so it's a high-class residential area, but 2025, it was also flooded and some incidents happened. You might remember that one officer was drawn along with his daughter. So this development is providing window opportunities that with all new development, it should, if they follow this, if these are the risk-conscious development, then it will help to minimize the risk creation. And this is really where we, especially with our EE4 RED project, while we were working, we were propagating for the new development to consider this risk factor very seriously. Next, please. So now, in case of Pakistan, why this risk thinking is missing? We have very good building bylaws, no doubt. For earthquake, we have a building codes of Pakistan. I think was 2021. It was revised by also Pakistan Engineering Council. Federal Flood Commission say that we have also flood bylaws, especially for irrigation channels and embankments. They have bylaws. But the problem is that building bylaws are not fully enforced, especially in true spirits. These are there. There are very clearly it has been mentioned, but it is very hardly enforced by the authorities. And then on the other hand, after this 2010, when this disaster management system has been strengthened, has been established, and then 2010, when Ministry of Planning came inside, then there are many organizations which is working directly or indirectly on the disaster and climate resilience. So NDMA, Ministry of Climate Change and Environmental Coordination, Ministry of Planning, PDMA है, PNDs हैं in all provinces. इसके अंदर जो है फिर then we have recovery and reconstruction units are there. Economic affairs divisions हैं. And then many other departments, whenever for any development activities in all these sectors are engaged are responsible to do development work. But somehow, when we talk about the disaster risk reduction, the mandates are overlapping. And another reason is that sectoral silos in planning. We can see that there are we have National Disaster Risk Reduction Strategy, we have National Adaptation Plan also at the provincial level, and also development plans also, but these are developing in silos. And then the very important is also one of an important element is the limited use of risk data, multi-hazard vulnerability risk assessment. In fact, limited availability can also be included as one of a reason that at the national level, and then at the village level or at the high resolution level, the MHVRA data is not mainstream. This is the responsibility of NDMA and PDMAs, and up to some extent they are developing this MHVRA also, but still we have to see the validity and the availability of this database, and then also the use of this data, that how much the technical organization or other sectors are enabled to use this MHVRA data. That is really still very limited. And then the last point is the development projects are not risk screened. PC1 के gaps हैं. We have the Planning Commission. When I was working in NDMA in 2009-10, we remember that we have distributed this DRR checklist. Still is there. Still Planning Commission is following. And recently in 2024, they have also now the manual, they have the Ministry of Planning has developed manual for development projects into 2024. That is for the, especially for the climate risk screening. So, I mean, these legislations or these documents or these policies and strategies are available, but somehow these are not mainstream in the development projects. And then we also compromise, especially while preparing this proposal, PC1 proposals, because of the probably low capacities or because of the economic problems, then we try to avoid, we somehow avoid it. Next, please. Now, I would like to share with you some of this lesson learned during this 2022 and 2025 flooding to see the positive and negative aspects that we learned from this flood, which was this decade we have experienced. As I mentioned to you, that in both cases, the areas were different. In 2022, most of the devastation occurred in Balochistan and Sindh. In 2025, in KP and in Punjab. So massive damages. The result was that massive damages received due to this poor land use planning. One of a gap which we identify is the land use planning, which is really need attention by the all disaster management authorities or by the developing partners to consider it very seriously. There is some work at the urban areas, but especially in the rural areas, it is totally missing. It still depends upon province to province, provinces to provinces, but still these are somehow is missing. And as I mentioned to you, weak enforcement of building codes. And if you remember this recent disasters, flood disasters, and then this example of this SWAT, that the family, this tourist came to River Swat, and just with one flash of water, flash flooding, around 19 or 20 people lost their lives. So what was the action that the government took, the district Swat government took, that they demolish all restaurants and hotels which were constructed along the riverside. But is that the solution for this? Why not that they construct, while they were constructing, they did not stop them? Or while, if it is deemed necessary to construct these hotels, then did they follow the building bylaws to construct these hotels? So these are definitely is really very missing in Pakistan. In case of, for example, KPK, we have River Act, but hardly, I mean, nobody is following it. The same Bahrain city has been again established. Kalam is again established, constructed. The same area, the same places, the same hotels. The honeymoon hotel in Kalam, twice damaged by the flooding. And twice, 3 times, I think it is again now. I hope that it will be at the same place. And on top of that, we have this climate change implications, in which we observed in 2022 and 2025 flooding. And maybe it's not directly related here, but especially it is in terms of development work. The amount which was promised by the donors or by the government of Pakistan still need disbursement. So those gaps are still there, especially for the government buildings, the government infrastructure that is still has to be restored. The positive aspect of this, keeping this 2022 and 2025 flood, that improved coordination observed. in 2000, especially in 2025. I mean, when I look at to this month, monsoon contingency planning from national level up to the district level, all district authorities is taking very seriously. But why only for disaster preparedness? The missing is the disaster resilience to plan for the disaster mitigation, disaster prevention, disaster resilience, climate resilience. That is still missing. Another good aspect is that after this era, earthquake rehabilitation reconstruction authorities, when we have this build back better based on this 2025, this is good that we observe that in 2025 the build back better approach is adopted, especially for the in these housing projects which is run under the World Bank and the government of Sindh and Balochistan. So they are following this build back better approach, which is really a good initiative and good models also, which can be replicated later on. My concern is still there that these are the projects, so we have to finish within certain period of time. So they have engaged contractors, private companies, but less involvement of the government machinery, for example, C&W, other planning departments, that their technical team should be involved in each and every step so that this experience shift to the long-term resilience and not only related to this projects. Once this over, then this will remain silence. So the insight is that we know about the risk known, people knows, especially the government has now the authorities, has the awareness about this risk. But for the long-term integration that is still in the development planning, that is still is really missing. Can you go to next slide, please? To support this risk integration, we have in the backup global and national policies, frameworks, all these are available. Strategies are there, plans are there, SFDRR. We have national DRR policy in 2013. How much we are following it, this is really very important. Just recently, provincial DRR policy for KPK has been approved, and likewise for GIZ is also developing for the Punjab also. So these are good initiatives where this risk-informed development has been integrated into these policies and plans. National Adaptation Plan, 4RF in fact, which is run by the Recovery and Reconstruction Unit of the Ministry of Planning at the federal and provincial level, that this also supporting the risk integration. But the main question again is coming that how much we are really following and the strict compliance of this. This is the question mark. Next, please. This is the sixth dimension of risk-informed development, which we also follow in our projects. I will later on discuss about this project also. But this is the sixth dimension which we follow to find out the capacities of each sectors and the entry point for these six areas which provides opportunities to develop capacities. So under this EE for RED project, Enabling Environment for Risk-Informed Development project, the following gaps were identified. Can you go to the next slide, please? Following the same six dimension, the first one is organizational arrangements. As I mentioned to you that organizations are established, and especially after this 2008, 2010, at the national and provincial level, we have disaster management authorities, even at the district level also. We have what is called RRU in the ministry. We have FFC, we have federal Met department. All these are existing, definitely organizations are there. Lack of permanent staff. especially in the disaster management authorities, where majority of the staff is coming as a deputed staff from other ministries, other departments, which results in ad hoc planning. Because the person is coming for 2 years, 3 years, 1 month, maybe 10 years, but then definitely he or she will be planning on ad hoc level or ad hoc basis. Frequent change of senior management in these offices. We are developing this, as I mentioned to you, provincial DRR policy for Punjab, and just with one kickoff meeting, 2 DGs has changed. So these are the dilemma definitely, and that which is among the organizations are existing. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah. Then finance and resources. Lack of financial resources, especially allocation of budget for DRR under the annual development program, under the PSDP, public sector development projects. It is hardly I have seen that there is a DRR budget allocated for this, especially allocation of financial resources on DRR at the district level under the deputy commissioner, under the DDMAs is really missing. Technical capacities are there, but a lack of motivation. Similarly, in case of knowledge and information, all government offices have better understanding. As I mentioned to you, this mainstreaming concept is not new. In 2008, mainstreaming DRR into development planning. NDMA started this initiative in 2008 and 9 under the one UNDRN joint program. I was also part of that program. And we started in 3 ministries. And then it went to 10, it was so much successful that it went to 10 ministries. But unfortunately, in 2010, after the 18th Amendment in the Constitution of Pakistan, then the provinces has the authorities, and all that efforts gone to the provincial level. So these are definitely those kind of weaknesses which is not strengthening mainstreaming into DRR. Similarly, for the policy and regulation dimension, as I mentioned to you, we have best policy strategies and instruments, mechanisms exist. DRR checklist is there, as I mentioned to you earlier also. A manual developed by for climate risk screening is also there. But somehow we take compromises on the following the building codes for construction, no land use planning and zoning. Development authorities are not considering the risk assessment profiles. Similarly, in case of partnership, there are number of network existing like PHF we have, NHN we have, Pak-CRN we have, Climate Action Forum we have, and many development forums are there, but still working in silos are still existing. And then another problem is the hesitation to share data and informations, especially to the developing partners. It is very difficult to get data from these government offices about the MHVRA or about the whatever others reason for which we need it. It's always difficult. Next, please. Yeah. So these are the that is we discussed that reactive approach is still dominant among the general public, and especially at the community level, fatalism is a strong element. यार जो किस्मत में होगा तो वो होकर रहेगा, हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते. So that is a common belief in not only in the people mind, but also in the local government level. The people is thinking in this way. Shifting in paradigm is there at government and public levels. However, acceptance is very slow. So now just 2-3 slides on the entry point. Can you go to the next, please? Yeah. The entry point for this risk-informed development is one is this institutional strengthening and stability. establish dedicated DRR or RID unit with permanent staffing at federal and provincial level, not only at the disaster management authorities level, but in all important sector like CNWO, Planning and Development Department, WAPDA, Irrigation Department, Housing, Health, Education, all those are really very important that they should have this DRR units with the trained staff. I remember that under this one UN DRM joint program, we provided DRM coordinators to, I think, 20 districts, around 20 districts. And for 3, 4 years, they were supporting, these DRM coordinators were supporting for mainstreaming DRR into development. But I still remember those stories, that's how certain district governments, authorities were utilizing these people just to type a letter or working as a clerical staff. So these are, unfortunately, is dilemma. Enforcement of policy and regulatory framework. Move from the policy availability to strict enforcement is really very important. We have policies, no need to work more on that. We have to go for the strict compliance. We have very clear implementation mechanism mentioned in these policies and plans. Why not to follow those strictly to see that either we are following building codes, either land use planning is following or not, zonation is there or not, and then especially this mandatory risk assessment in the development approval is really very important. The development project should not be approved unless and until that risk assessment has been conducted. And even I will go beyond that. It should be countersigned by the disaster management authorities that whether this risk assessment has been taken is a serious step, because this is also really, we have to see that whether these data which we are developing under the MHVRA is how much is reliable. NDMA has developed this with the GIZ support, has developed also this MHVRA guidelines still need to be relooked, that the socioeconomic vulnerabilities can further be strengthened in that MHVRA guidelines. But then these guidelines are available, but how much the PDMA and DDMAs or other development actors are following, this is really a question mark. Mandatory risk screening for all development projects. In PC1, MHVRA is, we should ensure that it is embedded in while developing the ADP or PSTP projects or the PC1 projects. It should be embedded. Next, please. Yeah. Dedicated budget. Allocate ring-fenced DRR budget. जो बजट DRR के लिए मुख्तस हो वो किसी और काम के लिए मुख्तस ना हो, रिंग फेंस्ड, बिल्कुल purely for the DRR. The district authorities under the deputy commissioner has the emergency fund, but we propagate always to under this EE for RED project also to allocate funds, especially for the DRR. There is some good improvement on this also. The planning and development departments at the provincial level, they are taking some serious steps, which is, I hope in long term will be having a fruitful results, that in each district development plan, they should allocate some DRR budget. Enhanced partnership. Learn from each other, private sector engagement, especially the housing societies. You can see that they are the one who are developing mega projects, but how much they are familiar with the risk informed development, that is really, we need to take them on board. Academia, we should engage them to conduct research. To do this, especially for the MHVRA, it is a dynamic exercise. It is changing from time to time. With 5 years span, it needs, with major disaster, it needs to be relooked. So maybe academia can help us, civil society can help us. And then capacity building, especially of the technical people, especially at the lower level, mason, carpenters, laborers. That is really very important to train them. The builders, to train them on the risk-informed development. And then also, especially at the higher level, integration of this GIS and remote sensing tools to develop different scenarios, different models for starting any project, so that we should know that how much these projects are risk informed. Next, please. And then is the strengthening data sharing and coordination mechanism. This is really one of a major gap to share data among the partner organization. Definitely is still is among the organizations are definitely they are sharing, but to development partners they need to be more relaxed and more flexible to get the data. So data sharing is also very one of a important entry point. And then behavioral change at all levels, and especially at the community level, where we have the masons, we have the carpenters, we have the builders, housing societies, and also engage communities while they are constructing even their house, their streets, how much these are disaster resilient. This is really very important. Next, please. Yeah. So just this 3 slides I will share with you about this our projects enabling environment for risk-informed development EE for RED. This was one of an initiative of the GIZ under this GIDRM Global Initiative on Disaster Risk Management. Ms. Maraike is also online. She is the leading team, and then it was also the Resilience Solution UK organization was taking on board. Marcos is our team leader. This project is implementing in 4 countries, Georgia, Pakistan, Colombia, and SADC region of South African countries. In Pakistan, I was also supporting GIZ team in this EE for RED project. So we would like to show you a video which is really very informative, a very short video on this which has developed by the GIZ. And if I can request to Haris to please show this video.
The enabling environment, transforming development to minimize risk creation. Sustainable development is a common goal worldwide. However, risks are increasingly arising despite development efforts and progress. In fact, development and risk are oftentimes 2 sides of the same coin. We are creating risks faster than we can manage them. Our current way of addressing risks falls short in the face of climate change, urbanization, and other risk drivers. To minimize risk creation, we need to consider systemic and dynamic risks in our decision-making processes. Decision makers have to choose the most appropriate development option to minimize risks. But what does that mean? Sometimes the cheapest or politically favored decision entails a lot of risks. Another option might be more risk-informed, thereby strengthening the resilience of people and infrastructure. Considering risks in decision-making and choosing the most appropriate path can be overwhelming. So the question is, how can we become more risk-informed in our development choices despite this complexity? Here, enabling environment for risk-informed development can help. To institutionalize a risk lens within development decision-making, we need to understand and improve the set of informational, policy-related, organizational, financial, procedural, environmental, and cultural conditions that determine risk creation in a specific context. This complex web of conditions is what we call the enabling environment. The framework allows us to identify gaps and insufficiencies regarding risk-informed decisions in a specific context. These can be taken up by decision makers as entry points to develop more resilient solutions and build individual and organizational capacities accordingly. Improving the conditions of the enabling environment relies on action on all levels, from the national to the local and across sectors. To reduce risk creation, we need to transform development efforts. We get closer to our goal of sustainable development with each risk-informed decision.
Thank you so much, Haris. These PowerPoint slides and this video will be available after this session, so it will be distributed to all participants, and you can further look into this. So coming to this EE4Ed project, it was piloted in two districts, Raimyar Khan and Swat. And as you know, that both districts has peculiarities in separate disasters. In northern areas of Swat, we have then different disasters which we observe in Raimyar Khan, which is drought-prone areas. So these are the pilot projects where we organize some number of activities. Can you go to the next slide, please? We organized two consultation workshops in Raimyar Khan during 2024 and 25. And likewise, also we organized the same two consultation workshop in Swat. We also organized two roundtable discussion in Islamabad, bringing together these two districts, district development practitioners, and also at the federal level, at the provincial level, PDMAs, PNDs were invited for the roundtable discussions. Next, please. And if you look at next, please. Yeah. So the purpose of these workshops was to introduce this risk-informed development approach. In these two districts, we invited to all concerned government organizations involved in the development work, and also we invited the non-development actors in these workshops. The workshop supported the participant in understanding systemic risk in the district. कैसे एक disaster के साथ जो है, there are a number of other risks associated with one flooding. Then we have, for example, industrial collapse, shutdown of electricity, breakdown, gases, agricultural products dismantle, hospitals affected, education system affected. So you can see that these are systemic risks. Just because of one flooding event, so much other risk are arising. So we try to understand them, the systemic risk, and do this exercises using the diagnostic tool, which in the next slide I will share with you also. It was very effective tool, and I will also encourage to all development partners, development colleagues who are online with us to use it. That was the tool, a diagnostic tool, which was developed by the UNDP, and we use it for these projects. Identification of gaps and weakness. We identified gaps and weaknesses under this within this EE4Ed. Integrate risk into decision-making process in the context of climate change. And then the workshop was focusing on discussing the difference between protecting development from risk and the role of development players in risk creation. So the participants, especially the district government authorities, is really bringing very positive fruits that they were taking this very seriously. And at the sector level, at the sectoral level, they utilize this diagnostic tool to find entry points for their sectors for the implementation of this risk-informed development. Can you go to the next slide, please? So these are the key recommendations derived from this consultation. This report will be sooner available on the GIZ and the PDMA's website. So I'm not going to the detail, but it is more or less the same which I discussed earlier also in the entry point slides. But this reports for all these 4 countries will be available sooner this first quarter of this year. Next, please. Yeah, this is the which I was talking to you about, the diagnostic tool which has been developed by the UNDP for the risk assessment and its utilization for the risk-informed development. As I mentioned to you, that based on this preliminary result, it provides entry points for these. So if you are utilizing it, being one member of your organization or head of your organization, and you do this exercise, you will definitely point out the gaps and challenges available in your sector, and then how you can cope up. It will provide you some entry points for you also. So I will really strongly encourage you to utilize it. And this will also be available along with this presentation for all of you. I will request to, this is my last slide, I will request Haris to go to that Excel sheet to just show them that how it works. I just put some arbitrary figures and just for knowledge. But then, as I mentioned to you, this is in Excel, so you can just utilize it for your own knowledge and give scoring to see the end result. Can you go to the Haris?
Yes, thank you. I will, for now, I will stop sharing this screen and will reshare the Excel sheet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is that diagnostic tool which I can you go to the top? Yeah. So this um, diagnostic tool has been developed keeping in view those 6 dimensions which I mentioned to you earlier. So for each, then there are certain questions asked in front of which then you can number it between 0 to 3. You can readjust it as per your own requirement, but if you want to answer, for example, question number 1, for example, are multi-hazard risk assessment including mapping of risk areas which can help risk-informed development available? So then you can score it and you can give number here in this red rows. So you can just enter this because this is an Excel sheet. You can read this and can see that how much your organization has that database. Similarly, with all this, you can number it. Can you go now to the bottom? So this is like 6 dimension, and you can just use it. You can number it between 0 to 4, and it will automatically fill gap here to that 6 against all the 6 dimension. It will tell you that what are the gaps. If it is 10, it means that they have good capacities. But if it is 1, it means that we have to relook at it also. So just with this arbitrary figures, for example, here is 38%. So then further you can see the explanation of this, that for example, if your result is between 0 to 30, it means that there is a need to identify opportunity for improvement in the areas for action with the score equal 2 or less than 2. So these are, I mean, it's a very, very, can you also show this diagram, please? Bring it to the right side. Yeah. I don't know on the side, this 6 dimension should be mentioned, but I don't know that why it is not coming. But it is give you, for example, there is a need to focus on, for example, this dimension. For example, I think it is a finance and resources. Then we have to see that how we can strengthen this. If it is capacities is here, how we can retain it. So this is a really diagnostic tool which you can use it as a practice. I would also encourage researcher here who are online with us to utilize it for this, for the risk assessment of in any area or for the sector also, and share those results with us also for our learning. So this was all about the risk-informed development and also about the EE4RED project. Under this projects, Mr. Harris and Osama will just share just few slides on the which we utilize for under this project. So I will hand over now to Harris for further discussion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Falak. So I will basically be building upon what Mr. Falak has explained about the risks and the components of the risk. And my main focus will be on the development of impact chain. So starting off with this figure, you can see that it is being widely used by the IPCC. It illustrates the risk as the function of three main components that are hazard, vulnerability, and exposure. So this framework helps us understand that how risk is inherently systemic in nature. So it also highlights that effectively in order to address the climate risks, we need a comprehensive approach that caters for all each of these three components rather than addressing the components in isolation. So that is why this is what the approach that we have introduced is, like the E-Forward, which focuses on the 6 main sectors and also to address the all 3 major components that lead to the creation of risk. So this is basically this figure is the crux when you do the climate risk assessments and to understand that how these 3 components lead towards the risks. So now briefly about the impact chain concept. So the concept of the impact chain is basically based on the conceptual model of the cause effect chain that include all the major factors and the processes that are associated with the climate risk in specific context. So factors and the processes here, they are associated with 3 main components of the risk that are hazards, exposure, and vulnerability. And you can see that the arrows of the 3 components go inwards and leading towards the cascading potential impacts. So impact chain development this is done through the participatory approaches such as the workshops, stakeholder engagements, and expert opinions that gives us the clear picture towards the specific risks that are created through these different components in a specific location, specific context, or any specific region. This also helps us. This development of the impact chain also helps us integrate the local data knowledge as well as the learnings from the past. I will also like to introduce you to this tool that is called the CRISP tool, Climate Risk Planning and Managing Tool for Development Programs and Agri-Food Systems specifically. The tool has been developed by GIZ, and it's a global. It covers the geographical. Its geographical scope is global, and it's publicly available. It's free to use tool. It helps us develop the impact chains. So here I have placed the example of South Asia rice wheat region, and it has you can in the if I'm not sure if the QR code is visible, but this tool will be available when the presentation. You can access the tool in the presentation that will be shared later on. So you can in this tool you can go to the specific region, select the specific region, and you can then in the impact chain you can see what hazards, what vulnerabilities, and what exposures lead to the certain risks. And then in addition to this, it also helps you develop the interventions, the solutions, the adaptive solutions which can be adopted in order to mitigate or to address those climate risks. And it's again a very, very useful tool, and it also will help you understand better like for your like specific study or specific research, or to the questions you have related to the impact chains. So it will give you a very, very good idea whether you are are a researcher, a policymaker, a decision maker. So you can use this tool to build the impact chains. Now I would like to hand it over to Usama to introduce us to this initiative of making cities resilient. Thank you.
Thank you, Haris. I hope I am audible, if you can confirm.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Haris and Falaksa, for perfectly setting the tone for my session. And yeah, maybe one slide before, Haris. If you can go back one slide. Yeah, so before I begin, I would like to draw your attention to this very interesting image. So what we see here is something very fundamental to the risk-informed development approach, as mentioned by Falak Nawaz Saab, and that is the importance of collaboration across systems, sectors, and stakeholders to manage climate and disaster risks. As we see that not only in Pakistan, but many parts of the world, the risks, whether it be from floods, heat waves, or urban vulnerabilities, they seem to collaborate more effectively compared to our planning and responses that often work in silos. So this image is a great reminder that no single institution or sector can address these risks alone. And there needs to be a collaborative effort, as risk-informed development requires strong coordination. It also requires effective engagement at a community level, as explained by Falak Saab, and also it needs a whole of society approach, taking private sector, civil society, academia, and youth on board. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so this is exactly where global initiatives like making cities resilient, MCR 2030, comes in. This initiative is a 10-year global partnership to strengthen local resilience. This offers a great platform for cities and local governments for collaboration, bringing together cities, governments, and technical partners to collectively strengthen resilience. Next slide, please. Yeah, as mentioned by Falak Saab, currently in Pakistan, we see that programs through like GSR's Global Initiative on Disaster Risk Management and UNDP and KFW's joint program on flood reconstruction to support resilient housing in Balochistan. There are currently ongoing efforts to support the integration of risk-informed development approach into the planning and implementation. And this initiative complements this by offering a global framework and a structured pathway for the participating cities towards taking a long-term approach to resilience investments. So what this actually do is it connects the cities, like the participating cities or local governments, with the global expertise and regional networks, while providing access to a pool of knowledge resources and monitoring and evaluation tools to guide cities on improving their resilience over time. And at the bottom of the slide, you can see the core partners of this initiative, which includes, for example, United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, World Bank, and Asian Development Bank, to name a few. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah, so here we'll see how this initiative translates into a practical journey for cities, what is called a resilience roadmap and often referred to as a three-stage journey. So there are three stages. Stage A is where cities know better. Stage B means cities plan better. And stage C is where cities implement better. Now, if I talk about stage A, this stage focuses on enhancing cities' understanding on risk reduction and resilience. Cities that are joining MCR at this stage are considered in the very early stages of their resilience journey and considered to have limited exposure or experience in devising DRR strategies. So in this stage, the focus really is on awareness raising and advocacy around disaster risk management and resilience. And the commitment from the participating city here is to develop and implement DRR and resilience strategy by firstly raising awareness around DRR and bringing relevant stakeholders and public on board while devising those strategies. Now coming to stage B, this is where cities plan better. And cities under this stage will be initially focused on improving risk assessments and diagnostic tools, and then increasing the alignment of their policies and local strategies with the national and provincial policies. Some of the potential activity areas in this stage are, for example, improving climate and disaster risk analysis for planning and improving DRR strategies and plans. And the commitment from the participating city in this stage is to move towards the development or refinement of DRR and resilience strategy, and to ensure that their development plans are risk informed. Lastly, we have stage C, where cities implement better, and cities in this stage are considered to have relatively robust DRR plans in place, and they often are in the early stages of the implementation as well. Here, the cities will be focused on improving their cross-sector governance structure, increasing their ability to access climate finance, and to design and deliver resilient infrastructure or developing nature-based solutions. So really focusing on translating the policies and plans into sustainable outcomes. And in this stage, the commitment is to implement and mainstream DRR and resilience across all sectors, and then to share their experiences with other participating cities of this MCR 2030 initiative. So the overall goal of this roadmap is to move cities to the end of stage C, where they have mainstreamed and integrated DRR and resilience into the citywide planning, and focus on monitoring and then evaluation to ensure that they maintain the level of resilience they achieve during the course. Next slide, please. Yeah. So here I will briefly talk about the resilience hubs. Resilience hubs are basically referred to cities or local governments in stage C that have an established record in disaster risk reduction and resilience building, and are committed to support and mentor other participating cities under this initiative. And these resilience hubs, they commit to a range of support initiatives, which, for example, includes hosting international and national events to promote subnational DRR and climate action. They also coordinate study tours to showcase practical examples and share experiences. They also publish and disseminate knowledge products, lesson learns, and good practices. Or they can also provide implementation support to other participating cities or municipalities on disaster and climate actions. So the qualified cities or municipalities can be recognized as resilience hubs for a period of 3 years. This period then, of course, can be renewed on the basis of good record of mentoring other municipalities. On the right side of the slide, you see some of the existing resilience hubs, which of course includes UAE, Dubai. There is one in Incheon, South Korea, one in Bonn, Germany, and Venice, Italy. So this is just a couple, but currently there are in total 43 cities that are recognized as resilience hubs across 29 countries. And interestingly, there is also an ISO standard for resilient cities, which is ISO 37123. And this certification also supports cities' application to becoming resilience hub, as it shows cities' commitment towards resilient development. Next slide, please. Thank you. So here I would like to share this MCR 2030 global map, where you see 3 types of dots. So the biggest dot represents the participation of more than 100 cities from that particular country in this initiative. The middle one represents more than 10 participating cities, whereas the smallest dot represents more than 1 city in this initiative. And if we have a closer look at our region specifically, you can see a very big dot on Bangladesh, which shows that more than 100 cities from Bangladesh are currently part of this initiative. And there is also participation from all our neighboring countries, including Pakistan, including India, Afghanistan, and Iran. But unfortunately, there is no representation from Pakistan currently in this initiative, which is, like, in my opinion, quite unfortunate, considering Pakistan being one of the most vulnerable countries to climate and disaster risks. So I really hope that in coming future we see some representation from Pakistan as well in such initiatives. Yeah, if we go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so now I will briefly talk about who can become part of this initiative and how to join this initiative. So firstly, the cities and local governments, of course, they can become part of it. And for this initiative, these are defined as subnational administrative units. For example, cities, municipalities, towns, villages, or provinces, so they can become part of this. Then comes the participating entities, which are further segregated into three categories. First are the core partners, which I explained earlier. So these are basically the co-creators of this initiative, and they serve as a global coordinating committee for MCR 2030, and they provide a strategic guidance to the implementation of this initiative. Second are the supporting entities. So these are non-commercial entities with expertise in specialized areas in the regions, and they can provide specific free of charge services or technical inputs to the sporting cities. These may include NGOs, civil society organizations, even national governments can also serve as a sporting entity in this case. And lastly, we have specialist service providers. These are primarily private sector entities, and that can offer technical one-on-one advice to the participating cities in the formulation and implementation of their resilience actions. Most providers, they charge a fees for their service, and they are expected to be engaged with the cities and local governments directly through their procurement processes. If we go to the next slide. Yeah, so now here you see a snapshot on how to join MCR 2030 for local governments, for example. So this is like a very straightforward process. Firstly, you have to complete the stage assessment to see at which stage of resilience roadmap your local government wants to register. Then you must have the letter of commitment signed by the political head or chief executive of the local government, which of course then shows as a commitment of that local government. Then after this step, you have to create a prevention web account and an MCR 2030 dashboard for your city or local government. And lastly, you have to complete your detailed profile, which allows you to provide more information about your city and what support like your city is actually looking for. So once you have this detailed profile, it not only helps the participating cities understand what your city needs, but also it helps increase your chances to identify the right entities or service providers that meet your needs. Now, to conclude, I would strongly encourage all of us, especially the ones who are part of the government structures, to actively explore and utilize any such partnership opportunities. In Pakistan, in my opinion, governments often tend to show more interest towards activities which include direct financial support. However, mobilizing resilience financing is like one part of the puzzle, whereas effective utilization of those resources along with transparency and monitoring of outcomes are equally important. And this is where such partnerships can play a pivotal role in supporting risk-informed planning and strengthening governance structures for effective resource utilization. Lastly, I would like to share an example from Philippines. So in November 2025, Philippines was hit by a typhoon that killed around 250 people, damaging zero point 0.6 million homes and displacing over 0.5 million people across the country. And it was stated that one of the hardest hit provinces, named Cebu, it has received roughly 500 million US dollars in flood control funding in the past years. But when the storm arrived, the infrastructure that was bought and paid for wasn't there. So this eventually pointed towards the corruption in form of ghost projects and substandard construction and kickbacks. So I will conclude my session with this same example of Cebu, which clearly depicts that this is not a natural disaster. In fact, this was a failure of governance. Thank you. And now I will hand back to Connor for the question answer round. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all for the very interesting and informative session. Much appreciated. Maybe before we start the Q&A session, I just want to note the couple messages that I sent in the chat. So you can find the link to the LinkedIn page if you want to join the Pak-CRN network. Also, the webinar materials. I shared a link for those. The recording will be uploaded at a later point today. I can't upload it quite yet, but the presentation slides are there right now. So you can access those now, and then maybe if you check back in a couple hours to that same link, you can access it there. Also, all of this information can be found on the LinkedIn page. And then lastly, I shared a survey link. It's really short, it's a couple minutes. And if you could take the time to fill it out, it would be much appreciated. This is not to assess anything. It's more so just to see if there's anything format-wise, mostly that we can improve for future iterations. So yeah, it would be very much appreciated. We don't have a lot of time, and then so maybe with the other host blessing, we can maybe answer a couple questions. Take it 5 minutes past the end point, if that's all right. So I don't know if anybody had any particular questions.
Maybe, Connor, if you allow me, can I answer some of the questions which has been asked in the chat?
Yes, that
Chat
works
box?
out well. Yep.
Yeah, this Nasser Baloch is asking about why is the risk assessment not being effectively integrated into planning and execution of PSDP project. That is, in fact, we have already discussed the gaps and also the entry points, and I hope that it answer your question already. This Umar Khosa has a point, very valid point. He raised very valid point is risk transfer and disaster risk financing, which I really missed to mention. Although I mentioned about the DRR ring-fenced DRR budget allocation, but still involving public-private partnership. This is really very important that we should engage public-private partnership for the disaster risk financing. I would like to, and also this answer is linked to another question which is raised by Munira Khan about the ensure that women, particularly from the rural and marginalized communities, are engaged in the risk-informed development process. These 2 points I would like to mention that recently I finished one study with the European Union where we were trying to find out the 4RF network, 4RF framework which has been developed, that is called Resilient Recovery, Reconstruction, and Rehabilitation Framework. You might some of you might have read that book also. Under this 4RF, there are 4 strategic objectives on which RRU, this Reconstruction and Recovery Unit of at the federal and provincial governments, are working. The outcome after this study is that most of the work has been done on the strategic objective number 4, which is on the housing and infrastructure reconstruction. So definitely it is obvious that chunk of fund has been shifted to SRO 4. But SRO 3 was about the inclusion of social inclusion, where it is focused on inclusion of women in this resilient recovery process. And we strongly recommend in that report also, it will also be available on the RRU within this month or maybe probably earlier next month it will be available. So I will request to Munira Khan to please read it. We have mentioned some of the, because this was the main highlights that very less work has been done. Also linking to this Umar Khosa points about the disaster risk financing, this under this 4RF, this P3 authority, public-private partnership authorities, they are actively engaged in the resilient recovery program, and they are also allocating some funds. Although while meeting with them, I was not satisfied with the projects which they were running, because this was just motorway and highway. I said this is about the resilient recovery. So, but still they are allocating some fund. They are, so we can engage these stakeholders, and especially for the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, INGOs are closely working with NDMA and PDMA on this. This is really very important. Another point was this Shazia Tanveer is also basically is a urban planning and building control officer. Is very important point. She is mentioning that we have the capacity, and I really admire that we have, alhamdulillah, capacities, especially in the urban units. We have these capacities, but she rightly pointed out the real challenge, and that is the risk assessment database, which is not systematically integrated into the planning and approval process itself. And that is where the role of NDMA and PDMA is coming, that they should really conduct a centralized database, which we should use it. As I mentioned to you, that under these two projects of the World Bank, they are conducting risk assessment, but they are conducting on their own. So then why not to use that data which is already available? BISP data is available. Pakistan Bureau of Statistics data is available. There is a need to integrate this, and where the role of NDMA and probably PDMA is coming across. So I really appreciate this point. I have copied also separately. So yeah, this was all I think is I covered. The rest was all suggestions. Thank you so much for good suggestions. And as I mentioned to you, and also mentioned by Connor, that we will sharing these. So we don't need to send it to separate email. You can just download it from the website, from the LinkedIn site, which Connor already mentioned. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I think if that is everything, I will go ahead and close the meeting. A sincere thank you again to our GIZ colleagues. Without them, yeah, this would not be possible. So, yeah, very much appreciate their support and their contributions. And yeah, looking forward to being able to host a webinar next month. So hopefully see everybody again there, and have a good rest of your afternoon then.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Mm.